Okay, I promised you a video. It's going to be tricky because I have to like do it with one hand because I'm holding up the camera with the other hand. So what I was saying is, if you have a C scale, if you build triads or three-note chords on each one of those, that's how we make them. This is the first note in the scale, so that's a 1 chord. That's the second note in the scale, so that's a 2 chord. So as you remember, a 1 chord, a 2 chord, a 3 chord, a 4 chord, a 5 chord, a 6 chord, and a 7 chord, which we don't normally use because it's diminished, as you remember. But you know that these are sometimes major chords and sometimes minor. We talked about that, right? Now you said, where do I go after I play a C chord to a G chord? And I said you can go anywhere you want. Here's a 1 chord to a 2 chord. You go to 5 chord, you got to get back to 1. That's the whole thing. If you do a 1 chord, you do a 4 chord, you can play a 3 chord, you can play a 5 chord, you get back to 1. So you can go anywhere you want. Here's a 1 chord, sorry, that's a 6 chord. Here's a 1 chord, here's a 6 chord, here's a 4 chord, here's a 5 chord, here's a 3 chord. Now I want to go back to 1. How do I do that? Well, I could do 4, and a 5, and a 1. So it's all about getting back to that 1 chord. And I said if you're playing a C minor, here's your 1 chord, F minor will be a 4 chord, and you get the same 5 chord. 5 chords are always major, whether you're in a minor key or a major key. So, if you're in C minor, we could play a C minor chord, F minor chord, a 2 chord, a 6 chord, a 5 chord, and a 1. It's all about getting back to 1. Here's a C minor, here's a F minor, here's a G, F minor, here's a 2, here's a 5, that's an inversion, and then 1. So, you can do that stuff. What else was I talking to you about? Next thing we talked about was inversions. Here's a C chord, here's an inversion of it. Take this E and put it up here. That's an inversion. So this is, we call this C root position. We call this first inversion. We call that second inversion. Here's root. Here's first inversion. Second inversion. So you want to learn to do that. Or, sorry, miss it. Sorry doing this holding the camera. But once you do that, do it with other chords, like an F chord. And so on. Or a G chord. And the reason you do that is because when you're having a chord progression, we can use inversions. Like here's a C chord. Instead of using a 5 up here, here's a chord, here's an inversion. That's actually a 3 chord. It's an E minor chord, see? If I want to go 1, 5, if I wanted to do a 2 chord, this is tricky, that's D, F, A. You would see them if you worked on these inversions. And here's a 5 chord, and here's a 1 chord. See, I didn't have to do this, right? Here's your 5, and here's your 1. So when you're using inversions, C chord, E minor, F, C, F, G, A minor, E minor, F, C. I know that looks tricky for you because you're not used to doing it. But if you work on the inversions, you know, like I said, like, just take your time. Eventually you can see them. Okay, see you later. Don't forget to pencil on your mustache before you come back next time.